Good morning, instructor. Welcome to the final presentation of our formative project. This is our logo, and the motto of the application is efficiency and agility, as these are qualities that are sound when using the application. Our project is a web application aimed at instructors, security guards, and administrative staff of the Sena Regional Quindío Center of Commerce and Tourism for the management of news and keys of training classroom. The problem identified was that the Trade and Tourism Center Sena Regional Quindío doesn't have an optimal information system that facilitated efficient communication between instructors and staff in charge of opening, closing, and reporting news about the training classroom. Also identify the use of a notebook minutes to keep track, record, and report on news in them. The Trade and Tourism Center has more than 20 training classrooms, and the management of them takes about 10 to 15 minutes, which directly affects the training schedules of the trainees or the rest time of the instructors. So, what is Alerroom? Alerroom is an application for managing communication process between guards and instructors, such as notification, registration, and consultation of news, the request for keys to open or close the training classroom of Sena Regional Quindío Center of Trade and Tourism. Also, will manage information about the instructions and the generation in PDF format of the reports of new generated. Characteristics. The first characteristic is the application is hosted on a remote server. The advantage of remote server is that you don't need to have your own hardware, which means that you can save on the cost of hardware and also dispense with the operating cost of your own data center. The second characteristic is responsive application. In terms of usability, the user experience of a mobile adapted website is positive, since the same content can be found as on the desktop without any problem. You can also interact with the site and share the same URL regardless of the device used. The third characteristic is a unique and customized application. It is an application designed and developed according to the needs of the institution, so that no other entity can make use of it. The fourth characteristic is structures in 4 modules that facilitates the use and development of the application, allowing an adequate and organized use of it, since each user interacts only with the functionalities that are assigned, without interfering with those of other use. The first module is user management. Allows the registration, update, activation or inactivation of the account of the different users. The second module is news management. It allows the registration and the consultation and request of news. The third module is management classroom. It will allow the registration of the different classrooms with their respective inventory. In addition, this will be able to be consulted and updated. In addition, the registration will be able to be made with the state of the active or inactive classroom for long. And the fourth module is management of the keys of the training classroom. The keys of the training classroom can be claimed and returned by the instructor user, who can also pass the keys to another instructor user. The different roles are administrator, security guard, and instructor. The application will have three roles: the administrator, who will be the person who registers the users and training classroom; the guard, who will be the person in charge of registering and attending the request of keys and news; and finally the user instructor, who will be the person who will make requests and transfer of keys, besides notifying the different registration of news. And the final characteristic is scalability. In the future, the application will allow to add more processing units to the server or database, and will also allow to add new functionalities to the application.
Software must have upgrades, so that consumers don't become bored with the system and believe it is obsolete. We will project the system, allowing new action. Of course, the updates also include new graphics themes that the system can be migrated to other operating systems, that more roles can be registered. Example, improvements such as the integration of requirements and reporting function according to the number of boards, generate reports and monthly status. Scalability is an attribute that a software must have. General analysis and development of information systems, as its name says. We don't only develop, we also have to have the ability to analyze our system. That's why we complete with legal documentation and suitable for the system we are proving. An example of an important document is the user manual, which with you have for clarity on how to manage the system and what each component serves. To assure the quality of the product, we also make the document of test, in which the system's incorrect operation is demonstrated. To understand the flow that the system should have, we analyze the user stories, which has information about can happening, cause of each action, has its level of difficulty, and help us to have an orderly programming. To be able to store so much information of the same entity, we had to manipulate very well the database and get ourselves with the flow that the database diagram showed. Give a correct use to the scientific date, thanks to the fact that is a graphic representation. You know that a software can be designed and programmed by a single person. That is how there are roles. Has an analyst, developer, designer, and tester. Together performs tasks to make the software. These professions allow us to work with collaborative platforms, which allow effective communication for the development of the system. Um, Example such as Scrum, Gantt diagrams, and platforms such as Trello and Jira.
Now, for technical aspect, the world of web development, as in any technology scenario, is a work that has advanced and continues to do so continuously by leaps and bounds. The trend in the development of monoliths or large all-in-one application where the administration part, the backend and the visual part, the frontend, coexist in the same development is still practice. This scenario has the advantage that in the first instance development is usually faster. We avoid configurations, tokens to protect calls to service. If it is a simpler project without growth expectation, it is still a viable solution. But you aspire for the project to involve and consider working on the development in another way, separating the backend and frontend. Uh, the system shows versatility in the handling of components and functions thanks to the use of Java technology for the backend and Angular for the front end. An important advantage of the system is that it is of separately, which allows more scalability, module updates, and more facility for bug fixes. Mm, In the backend development, we work with the programming language Java. Java gave us a practical use of object programming and its versatility to run it on different platforms to create multitasking and ease of linking with other technologies. For the development of the system, web services were used, which is basically a technology that uses a set of protocols and standards that serve to exchange data between applications, creating an API in Java, which will allow us to communicate our backend with our frontend. Another advantage of having our backend separately is that it allows us to deploy our API in Heroku, hosting our application on a remote server and being able to access it in real time and have our application accessible at all times. To take into account the backend makes use of JPA for the persistence of the system data in the same which is hosted in Heroku as a database, which is accessed with credentials and is also accessed remotely. Okay, now for the development of the visual part, we work with a robust framework. Angular is a JavaScript framework that allows you to create reactive SPAs, single page application. A great strength of these four systems are the extensive libraries and their division into components that obey directives with constant attributes in order to give a more fluid experience to users. Angular also allows the use of the view controller model and model MVC. Its addition, its stability is greater compared to other frameworks, and when using TypeScript language, it facilitates the debugging of errors when writing the code or performing maintenance tasks.
Now we proceed to show the running application. We will show the admin, instructor, and word modules. In the news management module, we can check and filter the news related to an environment. We can also generate PDF report. In the user management module, we can register and consult users. When we register, we only have to complete all the fields of the formula of the form. Uh, and now we can consult and update the state of the user. In the rules management module, we can register a new room and with its respective inventory and also consult a specific room. So componentes, 12, estas, 12, and consult. Now, in the profile, a small alert says the steps to follow. Check the identification number, press the query button, and then update the data. Okay, now I'm going to find the instructor and change the name. And now we go to this is all of the functionalities of the admin modules. Now we're going to log in as a instructor and later how security works. In the instructor module, we can find the submodules of news, environment, key rotation, and profile. When we enter news modules, we can request a new record so that the words can go to the environment and register it. We can also consult the history. Now, for example, now we can pass to the environment and consult the specific environment and create the studies annual record. So for the case, and we can paste the keys to other instructor, and in profile we can update the data. Now we're going to log in as a security guard, and we can see the report and the new records of the environment. So and consult the environments, and there's we can see the specific instructor and a specific environment if is in use or is empty. So if the environment is in use, um we can see this is bottom. So create a new records for the guards solicited the case of environment. So and if we can attend um, a new we can register a new and consult, and we can see the allure specific information of the who create the records and who attend the records. And this is all. Thank you very much for your attention.